From PewDiePie calling Alinity and her kin Thots, to Ninja announcing that he doesn't stream with women, female streamers have had lots of opportunity to blame their problems on men instead of on the other women who are actually responsible for them. So first with PewDiePie and Alinity.
First of all, Collab approached me. They said that there were a lot of videos that had my content on them. Alinity sexy moments, Alinity burps, Alinity feet, Alinity bends over. They told me that I was entitled to some money. Sure, let's do it. Signed a contract. And that was it.
Alinity working with Collab in the first place proves that she really has no problem being degraded as long as she gets all of the money that she is, quote, entitled to. Like, she mentioned specifically that Collab came to her and said, oh, you know, all of those Alinity bending over and Alinity sexy moments and Alinity thick compilations, you could get money for that. And she's just like, yeah, sure. If she was actually as offended by being objectified as she acts like she is, and she would just want those videos taken down. Like, no amount of money would make it okay for those videos to be up. The difference is that the compilations are flattering for her, whereas PewDiePie calling her what she is and not kissing her ass is not good for her ego, and that's the only reason she had a problem with it.
What happened with the PewDiePie video was me being angry at, he's a content creator that has so many followers. He has the ability to reach a very big young audience. So whenever another content creator calls me these things, I get a rush of people coming into my stream and calling me those things. It's quite frustrating to see that there can be so much sexism and it can be okay.
So given the fact that she understands what her content is and she knows who it caters to, how it's being used, and she's okay with it as long as she can make money, she no longer has any room to blame anybody but herself for the way that she is perceived. The fact that she holds Felix accountable for his audience but doesn't hold herself accountable for hers is especially egregious because PewDiePie didn't handpick his demographic. His content just happened to end up being appealing to young people and kids. Alinity, on the other hand, and all of the other female streamers who are like her, they handpicked the perverts. With the way that their content is formulated, it's clearly meant to appeal to basement goblins who just want to see naked women online and for some reason are willing to pay for it instead of just going to Pornhub where it's free and better quality. So if she has a problem with being treated as a sex object, then she should stop serving the people who treat her like a sex object. She is the one who is keeping that toxic community alive by feeding them. It's people like her and Amaranth and all of the other big female streamers who dance like circus monkeys for these guys and then ask, why are there so many perverts around? Well, it's because you're catering to them. You're giving them a reason to stick around. And because they're around, that means that when you're not around, they're gonna go bother other girls who don't take their shirts off. And then you're gonna act like that has nothing to do with you when it has everything to do with you. So that leads into the whole Ninja thing. I do think that his decision is a little extreme. I don't think it's necessary to refuse to stream with any female ever. You could just stick with the ones who don't behave suggestively, so, you know, avoid the cam girls. You could stick with the ones who are also known to be in relationships so that there is less room for people to question. Or since he straight up said that any bit of flirting will be taken out of context, he could just not flirt with them. That's the easiest solution. If you're married, you don't want people spreading rumors that will hurt your wife, then don't flirt with other women. Problem solved. But as stupid as his decision is, I have a bigger issue with the way that female streamers responded, and a lot of it ties into what I just said about Alinity. If you look at a lot of the responses from women about what Ninja said, most of it boils down to blaming him for the way that female streamers are treated and also feeling entitled to stream with him. I'm not going to bother getting into the entitlement part because we all know that it's stupid to think that he owes you anything just because he's more successful than you. It's not his fault that you didn't do as well. It's your own fault. They seem to have very high expectations for a guy who got famous for playing Fortnite. He signed up to be a Twitch partner and a professional gamer. He did not sign up to be a role model, and he is not responsible for the way that his fans see things, nor is he responsible for reforming the Twitch platform as a whole. It's ridiculous to hold anybody to role model standards when they did not sign up to be a role model, but since they want to play that game, the people who they should be holding responsible are other female streamers. The top ones like Sniper Wolf and Minx and Alinity and Amaranth, they are the ones who are keeping this culture and this toxic perv community alive. So the logic behind all of the outrage was that because Ninja has a really large audience, it is his obligation to use his fame for good and to make a positive difference in his platform. But by that logic, why aren't the top female streamers being held to the same standard? Why is it okay for them to act like strippers and porn stars when they know that that reflects poorly on the rest of the women in the community and they use that as leverage to get ahead of the other women, but Ninja can't simply choose who he streams with out of respect for his wife, as stupid as the reasoning may be? That's really where it's coming from for him. He just doesn't want to cause any problems in his marriage, and even though it's a little bit of an overreaction, it's coming from a wholesome place. The behavior of these top female streamers is not. It's coming from a complete disregard for the reputation of female gamers as a whole. So why are they not being held responsible? Why is nobody angry at them? I think that what it comes down to is this weird fake feminism that goes around a lot these days. It's this idea of women behaving hypersexually and acting like they love it and then they feel so strong and independent because they're acting this way. But as soon as you point out that they're acting that way, they suddenly get really offended. What it comes down to, I assume, is the fact that taking your shirt off is easy money. And I understand that working a real job is miserable and it's hard to turn down the opportunity to get a 6-figure salary just for walking around half naked on camera. But in the past, women had too much dignity to do that. But now with the rise of this weird brand of feminism, they can prance around half naked for the men who are supposedly oppressing them. And then when somebody calls them out for it, they can run behind the shield of feminism and be like, oh no, this is my choice. I can do whatever I want and you hate women if you say anything negative about it. It's weird because you can tell by their reaction that even they aren't comfortable with it. They don't even respect it enough to call it what it is, but they expect you to respect it, but they don't respect it. So because of that weird brand of feminism and the stigma that you're a terrible person if you go against it, the women who aren't like that, the ones who really just want to stream and play video games or do whatever it is without taking their clothes off and making their body a part of their product, they're dragged into it as well because they now have to compete with this stigma that other women are upholding, and they're not allowed to say anything negative about it. The closest that they can come is saying it's wrong to assume that they're going to do it as well. But then as soon as you say, if you were to say, oh, well, why is it offensive to you when I assume that you're like that? They don't want to admit that they're ashamed to be associated with that because that means that they're a misogynist. This matters because it not only creates a sense of cognitive dissonance, it also teaches us that empowerment is simply selling your body to a bunch of people who don't care about you. It teaches us that we can bury our morals under a new mansion, and from there, the dissonance goes on to create friction between the producer and the consumer. Female streamers are doing this thing that they, on a very shallow level, have convinced themselves is simply their job at worst and empowering at best, but because deep down they know that they're not comfortable with it, they lash out when others, particularly men, react predictably to their sexual displays. Thought culture is an internal problem in the female gaming and nerd communities. It's time to stop blaming men for buying the products that we sell them and do something that is actually empowering. Solve our own problems instead of asking men to do it for us.